Hey, what's going on, guys? So this video is a follow-up to my previous video where I did the Nemesis 3 test in Glennach Cairns. So this time around I did the same test but in Valdo's rest. So in case you don't know what Nemesis 3 strategy is, I encourage you to watch my previous video. And this time around I'm not gonna be fully explaining the full strategy. I am gonna be mostly sharing the differences between two zones and what kind of results I got this time, and then compare it to the Glennach Cairns. So first of all, the map that I chose was Underground Sea, because to be honest, in Valdo's Rest there isn't really that many good maps. The only good ones, I believe, are Underground Sea, Port, and Estuary. And out of those three, I believe Underground Sea is probably the best one. Maybe Port would be better if you would do it in a party. And passives, I obviously went for the Harbinger, just to see how good Harbinger is after the nerfs with this strategy. And the other ones, I went for the Blight, simply because Metamorph and Yun doesn't really give you anything for this strategy. And because of that, I did replace the Breach Scarab with Blight Scarab, Gilded Blight. And also, to be honest, the Blight is actually pretty good in this zone. I didn't expect it to be that good before I started the test, but because Mass Mycelium, whatever it's called, gives you the chance that there will be multiple lanes, is actually pretty nice. Usually there is quite a lot of monsters when you are doing Blight. And the other setup is pretty much the same. I am going for Beyond on every single map, 1 Delirium Orb, Twins, Plague of Frogs, Underground Undead Storm. And on Watchstones I was always rolling Beyond, obviously Nemesis 3. And this time around I actually always also was rolling the Harbinger Sextant. So additional 1 Harbinger and more Harbinger currency. And for the last one, I went either for Hunted Traitors or Unique Monsters drop Corrupted items. Unique Monsters drop Corrupted item is not as important in Valdo's Rest as it is in Glennach, since you are not focusing that much on Beyond here. And this is also the reason why I didn't go for Misinformation Watchstone, because Misinformation is almost 5 exhausts right now. And if you are not focusing on Beyond that much as you are in Glennach Cairns, I do believe it is not worth to go for Misinformation this time around. So the Watchstone that I did go for is 1 Auspicious for better currency shards, and the other 3 I actually, normally you would go for Laden for more currency shards, but because I am not really focusing on currency shards from Harbinger, but just for additional monsters from them, so I can get more currency from Nemesis Sextants, I went for the Harbinger's Watchstone, which give you total 45% chance that there will be additional Harbinger in map, so even more monsters. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the setup, and obviously I also went for the Alva. So now let me show you the example video of the map that I did. Again, I'm not gonna run the map right now because it would just take too long, so let me quickly show you how one of the maps went. Okay, so here is the example map. Again, setup is Gilded Blight Scarab, Gilded Harbinger, Rusted Elder, Rusted Legion, and I am using Nemesis on a map device plus Alva map mission, and the map is 20% Delirious with Beyond. Also, by the way, if you hit Beyond and Nemesis, then you can go for something like Ritual, for example. So again, at the beginning I am turning off my Nemesis loot filter, and I'm going for a loot filter that only shows exalts and the most expensive currency. And then I am going for the second loot filter that shows everything after I'm done with clearing the map and I am starting to loot. So quickly let me skip to the part when I am fighting with harbingers, just so you can see how much loot harbinger gives, and also blight. So here is the blight, and as you can see here at this moment, like there is insane amount of monsters, especially bosses from blight. So there's a lot of monsters and a lot of beyond spawns when you are doing this league mechanic. So it is worth it in my opinion to go for the blight scarab. And here is normal harbinger, so obviously you have only 30% chance to get a king harbinger, so not always the harbingers will be good ones. Let's skip to, and here is exalted orb drop. Let's skip to the part where I am fighting king harbingers. I believe I skipped it. Okay. Okay, here is a king harbinger. So actually that exalted orb dropped from the king harbinger. So, and it is at the end of the map, which means that is the harbinger that I got from the sextant modifier, the additional harbinger that is always next to the boss. So now let's go to the looting part. Again, obviously you get quite a lot of currency. So this is the boss room. So all of that loot actually came from the king harbinger. So if you compare it to a last league, if you did this strategy, there is much less loot, but it's still pretty decent, and I would say it is still like pretty nice for this strategy. It's not like completely dead, but it's definitely much worse. So let's look at the results. So here is the first tab. So if you compare it to the canyon, you can see it is actually not even filled, and it's only all of the currency. So I actually kept my canyon tab. So in my canyon currency tab, I filled full tab with just random currency and also some additional extra currency here. And here I didn't even fit all of the currency in one tab. So there is definitely much less loot like overall. And here is the second tab with just some random loot. Obviously a little bit more blighted maps done in canyon because I was using blighted scarabs. But if you look at the bottom, I actually did drop 16 exalts. Obviously less divines, because last time I did get almost 40, this time around I got almost 20, so less divine orbs, but much more exalted orbs. So last time I did only get C exalted orbs in Glennach Cairns, and this time I did get 16. And from first map I did drop 4 exalted orbs from one map, and then I believe only from 1 or 2 maps I didn't get 1 exalts, and every other map did drop me 1 or 2 exalted orbs. So much more exalted orbs. So now let's look at the spreadsheet. So because of the lack of misinformation this time around, if you compare it to the canyons, so in canyons again I was using the misinformation, so total cost was 18 exalts, and this time around it was only 12 exalts, and the time it actually was pretty much the same, 4.5 hours. So in Underground C the profit was a little bit higher, so 6.5k, and in canyons it was 6.3k. And that's simply because of the all of the exalted orbs that I did get. So even though I didn't get that many overall, just like a random currency, I did get much more exalted orbs, and because of that, profit was much better. And also the cost again was much lower. So because of that, I did profit 5.8 exalts per hour. So in total 26 exalts. And again, last time around, I did profit 4.1 exalt per hour, and in total 18.4 exalts. So basically, the two differences between these two zones, I basically got more overall currency in canyons, but more exalted orbs in underground sea. And that basically tells me that it's just RNG, probably. The fact that I got 16 exalts in underground sea, who knows, maybe during different tests I would actually get 16 exalts here and 6 exalts in underground sea. And to be honest, you will never know, is it RNG or maybe there is something about the map that is different. And from what I noticed last league I did test multiple different zones for Nemesis 3. So I remember I did do estuary in Lyra Artane, I did do cemetery in Haywark, burial chambers in Lexe Joris, and dunes New Vastir, and obviously canyons in Valdo's Rest. And I did notice that in different zones, even if you drop more currency overall, sometimes some maps seems to have higher chance to drop exalted orbs. Maybe that's just me, but I do believe that's a thing. And maybe that's just the case for underground sea. Maybe it actually drops just overall more exalts, and because of that, underground sea is actually a pretty good zone to farm Nemesis 3. So that pretty much concludes the test. I mean, if the strategy actually supposed to give you 6 exalts per hour, it is a really good strategy. And it probably doesn't really matter that much which zone you do. Do you do Glennach Cairns? Do you do Valdo's Rest? Maybe even go for Lyra Artane. It is actually pretty good because of Breach. Breaches here give always 10 additional rare monsters. So if you, for example, use Gilded Breach, that's additional Gilded Breach Scarab, that's additional 30 rare monsters guaranteed. So there is a lot of other potential zones that you can do this strategy in, and you will pretty much always get at least 4 exalts per hour, in my opinion. Sometimes you will get 5, 6, maybe even more. And because of the popularity of the strategy, Awakened Sextons went up in price a lot. They used to be like 1.5, now they are 3 C per 1. And all of the currency actually went down a lot in the last few weeks. So for example, jewelry orbs are now 20 jewelers to 1, I believe. It says it's 15, but if you try to buy a lot of them, it's around 20. And all of the other currency are not really worth that much, and that's simply because a lot of people are farming this strategy. So the later on in the league the strategy becomes much worse. But it's still really nice. And for me, I am not really gonna farm this strategy, simply because of the amount of clicks and looting you have to do at the end of the maps. I just don't really enjoy it. When I timed it, it took me like 8 minutes to clear the map, and then like 13 minutes to loot all of the stuff, which is a lot of downtime, and I just don't really like it, and my finger hurts from clicking. So that's gonna be it for the strategy. If you have any other zones that you tested or any other setup, please leave a comment. I am interested in seeing what other people are doing. And thanks for watching. See you next time.